There's this truly fundamental paradox right at the core of human existence.
Hmm.
You look around, and in many parts of the world, we've achieved these incredible levels of material comfort, shelter, food,
Unprecedented, really.
and yet chronic anxiety, chronic stress,
Yeah.
that seems to be the global default. The physical universe, sure, it runs on scarcity and competition, but the human mind has introduced this colossal chronic layer of conflict that just doesn't exist anywhere else.
We are definitely diving into that chasm today. The chasm between, let's say, necessary survival and purely optional suffering.
That is the subject of this deep dive, the physics of the self. When biology meets consciousness, we've pulled together sources from physics, evolutionary biology, and cognitive psychology to synthesize an answer to a really powerful personal question for you, the listener. Why is so much of the suffering you experience actually optional?
And to get there, we really need to unpack a critical distinction between two very different types of conflict. One is fundamental to all life. The other is, well, it's a cognitive side effect of being so smart.
And if you can see the difference between these two in your daily life.
That's the key. That's how you can end that mysterious, constant feeling of being drained.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we have to start at the base layer. The struggle that is fundamental to all life on Earth. What is that first primary conflict?
We call that conflict type 1, material competition. And if you zoom out far enough, this is really just a consequence of the second law of thermodynamics.
The universe tends toward chaos, entropy.
Exactly. Life is this island of highly organized structure, and maintaining that organization takes a constant input of energy. It's a battle against decay. And since energy is finite,
Competition is baked into the system.
it has to be.
So we see this everywhere, right? From the macro to the micro, the lion and the gazelle.
The lion, the gazelle, two saplings competing for the same little patch of sunlight. It's not an ethical problem, it's a systems problem. It's been happening for, 3.8 billion years?
And the key characteristic here, and this is one that's hard for us humans to accept because we project our own internal drama onto everything, is that this competition is completely amoral.
Completely. It's just physics playing out in biology.
Yeah.
The lion is knacking out of malice or, trying to assert its dominance in some psychological way.
It's just performing a thermodynamic function.
It's maintaining its physical organization. That's it.
Okay, so we got the physical baseline. Physics gives us type 1. What does consciousness give us? What's the second conflict?
Consciousness, or at least the kind that we have, the kind that allows for symbolic thought, for stories about time,
Yeah.
that gives us conflict type 2, psychological warfare.
And this one is unique to us.
It just does not exist in non-human nature. You need a mind that can build an abstract, non-physical idea of self, and then use that self as the centerpiece of a constant, never-ending struggle.
Let's use the animal world to make that contrast clear.
Yeah.
Say a pack of wolves hunts a deer. Maybe they succeed, maybe they fail. What happens the second that event is over?
The conflict for them happens entirely in the present. It's driven by a real immediate need, and it ends the moment the situation ends.
Right.
If the wolves fail, they don't lie awake that night ruminating on what a failure they are or how they embarrass themselves in front of the pack. The system it returns to baseline. The stress is gone.
And this is where it gets absolutely essential for us. The human mind takes that same hardware, that type 1 survival kit, and misapplies it to an abstract type 2 threat. How does the body get so confused?
That confusion is the whole game. Every organism has to have a physical boundary, skin, a cell membrane, to protect its structure from the outside world.
Some entropy.
Yes, but the human brain, in its quest for social security, it creates this extra conceptual layer, the psychological boundary, the narrative self.
The I, the story we tell ourselves about who we are.
The story, I am a competent partner, I'm a respected leader, I'm a good person. This thing is completely non-physical, just a construct of thought. But we spend enormous amounts of chronic energy defending it.
Okay, the classic example. You're in a meeting, someone disagrees with your idea.
Right. There is zero physical threat. You have food, you have shelter, there's no lion chasing you. But what happens internally? Your heart rate skyrockets, your muscles tense up, cortisol floods your system.
Your body is reacting as if your life is in danger, as if you're fleeing a predator that could kill you in the next 60 seconds.
Exactly. But you're not responding to a lion. You're responding to a conceptual danger to the reputation of this imaginary thing called I.
That brings us to the thermodynamic cost. This is fascinating. The actual physical drain of the psychological warfare. What's the real cost comparison between the two?
Well, in conflict type 1, the energy cost is massive, but it's a short burst. Seconds, maybe minutes. and then it drops to zero.
The crisis is over.
Right. In type 2 conflict, the cost is maybe more moderate, but it is constant. It never shuts off. The argument about your self-worth from yesterday can be replayed today and trigger the exact same exhausting physical stress response.
So that feeling of being perpetually tired, even when you've slept 8 hours, it's not laziness. It's real. It's your body spending calories on an internal war.
It absolutely is. And we can see this with neuroimaging. The brain's default mode network, the part that's active when you're just, mind wandering.
Daydreaming.
Right. That's where this happens. It's constantly running background checks, comparing your status to others, rehearsing past failures, planning a future based on the needs of this vulnerable I.
So the self is like a piece of software that's always running in the background, like having 20 unnecessary security apps on your phone, just draining the battery 24/7.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You are literally spending finite calories to maintain a story about yourself. And the sources give a really powerful experiment for you to try right now.
What is it?
Just take a moment and observe your own thoughts. Just watch them. And notice how much of that mental chatter is about defending, validating, improving, or comparing the narrative version of you.
For most of us, that's almost all of it. That's the majority of our internal monologue.
It is. And the really profound question the sources pose is, what's left when you subtract all those thoughts? When you stop maintaining and defending you?
You're left with what?
Pure function, breathing, clear perception, the ability to solve real type 1 problems, the pervasive, exhausting sense of being a threatened, separate little entity dissolves. And that silence isn't empty. It's the absence of unnecessary energy drain.
That distinction is everything. Which brings us to the practical side of this, the danger of confusing these two levels. We're constantly trying to solve type 2 problems with type 1 solutions, and the other way around.
Oh, constantly. It's fascinating how much this confusion dictates our behavior in modern life. The material problem might be simple, but we just drown it in a psychological one.
Let's take something as basic as food.
Okay. The type 1 conflict is simple. I need 2,000 calories to maintain my body. The solution is material. Eat food.
But the type 2 conflict is?
I must stick to this specific diet to prove I'm a good or intelligent person. Or I need to photograph this meal to get social validation. Or my failure to stick to my diet plan proves I'm a weak person. All that psychological warfare consumes way more energy than the actual calories provide.
And we see this so painfully in relationships. The underlying type 1 drive is just a biological need for connection.
Right, but the type 2 layer turns a normal life event into an existential crisis. A breakup, which is a material shift in your life, becomes interpreted as proof that I am worthless, or I failed at being desirable and now I must suffer forever. It's unending psychological drama.
Or hierarchy. I mean, we can agree that any social species needs some kind of mechanism for distributing resources, which usually looks like status.
It's a functional neurobiological mechanism.
Yeah.
But type 2 takes that functional system and turns it into this constant internal war because my essential human worth is now tied directly to my rank.
And you can never win that war, can you?
You can't, because even if you get the promotion, the mind just invents the next threat to that status.
So the deepest insight here is that the I that feels separate, the one that feels all this conflict, it's actually constructed by the very same process that's serving the conflict.
That's the tricky part to grasp, isn't it? There's the raw experience of the world, and then a split second later, the thought, I am having this experience. That thought creates the separation. When that division doesn't happen, there's just an appropriate response to what's actually there. No internal conflict is generated.
So let's bring this back to a real crisis. You mentioned a job loss earlier. Let's really spell out the difference in responding.
Okay. If you respond with type 2 conflict fully active, the system defaults to paralysis. The internal story is loud. I am a failure. This is so unfair to me. My entire identity as a provider is gone.
All that emotional investment drains your energy for what you actually need to do.
Exactly. But if your awareness is sharp enough to see that second layer for what it is, just a story, and you can let it go, the functional thought remains. I no longer have income. I need to activate my network. I need to look for new resources. The response becomes practical action, without all the drama. And the sources are clear. This isn't about being a robot. Sorrow, anger, anxiety, they can still flow through you, but they don't stick around to feed a permanent wounded story about yourself.
Okay, that makes me wonder about something. We've established that type 2 conflict is optional, but is type 1, is that fundamental competition actually necessary? Does it drive us forward?
It certainly seems that way. The sources are pretty strong on this point. Type 1 competition is the sharpener of evolution. It's the engine of complexity.
The evolutionary arms race.
That's what it is. Predator and prey constantly forcing each other to get better. It's what produces sharper eyes, faster brains, more complex social structures. Without that constant pressure, life would probably exist, but it might stay very, very simple.
Which leads us into this really cool speculative thought experiment from the sources. What would a world without any type 1 conflict, a world of biological peace, even look like?
Right. They came up with 4 hypothetical ways you could try to break the fundamental rules of scarcity. The first one tackles the energy problem directly. Superabundance energy. A sort of thermodynamic Garden of Eden.
Where resources are practically infinite compared to how fast they're being used.
You never have to worry about finding food or shelter.
But we already know the problem with that one.
It's a temporary fix at best. In a finite universe, resources are always finite. Eventually, population growth will catch up, and competition has to restart.
Okay, so what's scenario 2? This one tries to make everyone their own little island.
Universal autotrophy and segregated niches. So in this world, all life makes its own energy, like plants. No one eats anyone else. And crucially, different species use completely unique, non-overlapping nutrients.
So species A uses blue light and magnesium. Species B uses deep-sea thermal vents and sulfur. They literally don't compete for food.
Right, but they still need physical space. They still need water. They still need basic elements like carbon.
So conflict isn't gone, it's just minimized.
Exactly. Competition for territory would still exist.
Okay, scenario 3 requires a total shift in biology. Radical symbiosis.
This is the most philosophically interesting one. The default biological response when you encounter another organism isn't competition or defense. It's fuse and collaborate.
So life becomes one single, vast, interconnected planetary network.
Yes. And in that system, individual self-interest becomes totally meaningless. If harming another organism immediately harms you because you're connected,
The entire logic of type 1 conflict just dissolves.
it becomes actively self-defeating. And then there's the last one, the truly alien idea.
Non-biological life forms.
Life based on something totally different. Complex crystal structures, or maybe magnetic fields, that feed directly on background cosmic radiation.
So they don't need to consume matter at all.
And if you don't need to consume what others need, the entire basis for material competition collapses.
Wow. So what does this all mean for us? We come all the way back to what you called the paradox of complexity.
It seems that type 1 conflict, that necessary struggle for resources, is actually essential for nature's creativity. A world without it would be peaceful, but it would likely be static and simple. The struggle itself is what produced the very intelligence.
That accidentally created type 2 suffering. This chronic conceptual pain that's totally unique in the universe.
And that brings us right back to you, the listener, and the 2 universes you're living in right now simultaneously.
Universe 1 is the physical world. It's governed by scarcity, thermodynamics, evolution. Conflict here is inevitable, and it requires material solutions.
Then there's Universe 2, the psychological world. That one is governed by narrative, by identity. Conflict in this universe is optional. It's added entirely by thought, and can be ended by awareness.
And wisdom is just knowing which universe you're operating in at any given moment.
Exactly. You can't solve physical hunger with mindful acceptance. That's a psychological tool for a material problem. And conversely, you cannot solve psychological insecurity, a type 2 problem, with more money or higher status. Those are type 1 solutions. They just give the story you're defending more to protect.
So the core insight we took from all this is that the very same intelligence that gave us this massive advantage in the material world, also by accident, created this unique form of suffering, this chronic, debilitating weight of defending a self that you can't even find.
It's the energy you get back when that defense mechanism stops that allows you to act clearly and effectively in the world.
So here's the final provocative thought for you to mull all over. If most of your daily energy drain is caused by the incessant, grinding activity of defending a fictional self-entity that literally cannot be located by any physical search, what essential power, what capacity for clear, functional action is liberated in the moment that defense ceases? Imagine operating at your full capacity in the world of necessary material competition, but without the exhausting, debilitating weight of chronic psychological warfare. That might just be the highest form of efficiency and peace the human mind can ever achieve.